So at this point, Adam Pally seems like he's making quite a career for himself. He was in Fubar, he was in Sonic, now he's in Mr.
He was in
Throwback.
Knuckles.
Oh, that's what I mean. He was also in Sonic, right? Like, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was right. But he just likes to play the goofball, right?
Well,
And
it's typecast as kind of the bumbling fool.
yeah, I've got like several different openings for Mr. Throwback. I wasn't sure which to go with. You go ahead and let me know which one sounds the best, all right?
Okay.
Michael Jordan has The Last Dance. Kevin Durant has Swagger. LeBron James has The Wall. And now Steph, spelled like the dish, Curry, has Mr. Throwback. How's that sound?
Why'd you say it's spelt like the dish?
Well, Curry.
Yeah, I
course.
understand, but like that, you didn't have
It's not
to
like
say.
Steph, like Staphylococcus. What is the thing where you get like a sore throat? That's not what I was saying.
Just give me another one.
Okay, another one is Mr. Sunshine, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Robot, Mr. Bean, Mr. Selfridge, Mr. Ed, Mr. In Between, Mr. Pickles, Mr. Mercedes,
Wow.
and Mr. and Mrs. Smith have nothing on Peacock's newest show, Mr. Throwback.
I mean, I like the opening, but it's not true.
There's too many misters?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not true. So which one of these is Mr. Sunshine was that Matthew Perry show from a very long time ago.
I never saw it.
Mr.
So.
Mayor, you watched a few years ago.
This is
Ted
better
Danson.
than Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor won a couple seasons. Mr. Robot, I know you like that one.
Mr. Robot is way better than this.
Also not a sitcom, so I don't think it's fair to compare the two. How about to Mr. Bean? Mr. Bean might be the most closely related to this, right? That or Mr. Ed?
No, because Mr. Bean is like a sketch comedy show, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's comedy. That's what I'm mostly geared towards. Steph Curry, very funny in this? Yes or no?
Yes, he is the best part of the show.
Let's continue. How about this one? Adam Pally is no stranger to playing a dude who peaked in high school. Most Likely to Murder was the movie he was in where I think he did the exact same thing.
Yep.
He's no stranger to playing second fiddle in a limited series, like in Sonic's spin-off Knuckles. And he's no stranger to working with Drake.
With Drake?
Yeah, because that's his son's name. When you mix all those ingredients together, it's no wonder he was cast to play Danny Grossman in Mr. Throwback.
Yes, this is the one I most agree with.
Okay.
A once promising basketball star career was derailed by a scandal involving his father.
Yeah, so it says Curry's middle school teammate, Danny and Steph Curry, go to school together. They find out that he is now scamming Curry in order to save his own ass. He owes $90,000 in debt. And why does he owe that debt?
I think he was involved with a scandal with a couple of shady people. I'm not sure if they ever actually explained what the reason was for it.
And Steph Curry is playing a super do-gooder here.
He's playing a Curb Your Enthusiasm version of Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. So he's someone who is definitely an egomaniac and a heightened
so he's obsessed with himself?
Yes, but he's also like loved by the media. He, like I said, he is a scene stealer when it comes to this series. I didn't think that when you had these main comedians
in the
show. Is he
like Rob Lowe in Parks and Recreation? That's sort of the vibe I got in this limited amount. Like, he's obsessed with health. He wants to do the right thing. He feels like he's always going. But yeah,
I liken him to something like Connor for Real from Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Oh, that guy's very flawed.
Well, more in the sense of him again, he being very arrogant.
How about The League? Did the show remind you of The League?
Yes, The League. It's Always Sunny. It's trying to go for that mean-spirited type of humor.
Really?
Which is strange because it also feels like it's trying to be part Parks and Recreation.
Mockumentary-style. So that was my last intro. If you didn't like the Adam Pally one, let me go through that one. It also has a little game attached to it. Mockumentaries have a big hit rate. What We Do in the Shadows, American Vandal, Players, Documentary Now, Trial and Error. What also has a pretty big hit rate? Steph Curry's three-point shot percentage throughout his career. Do you want to guess what it is?
Well, I know they said in the series, and that's one of the best parts about it, that he had like a 268 game streak of like hitting a three every single game, and he ended up breaking it, I think, sometime in like 2023. But his percentage rating...
So like the average percentage of just regular NBA players being able to hit threes is 35%.
Okay, it's a good thing you had that. Let me guess, is it somewhere around like 46? That might be too high.
It's a little too high. Is this 42.6%, which is obviously one of the highest in the game. However, I have a bunch of other famous players that I kind of want you to see if you can rank them at least somewhat in their right order. Okay? Steve Nash had a career percentage of 3-point shots of... I'll give you the players first. Steve Nash, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Steve Kerr. Golden State Warriors.
Right, of course. And you want me to rate these people?
As far as what order you would think that they would
I
shoot
mean,
three
number one has to be Michael Jordan, right?
No, because he wasn't like back in that day, it wasn't a big 3-point game. The Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry kind of brought in the momentum in the last 10 years of changing the game towards longer shots.
Was it Steve Kerr?
It was Steve
Yeah.
Kerr. Wow. He had a 45.4% shot rate, and I think it's the best of all time beyond the arc. And Steve Nash was also very close to Steph Curry at 42.8%. He actually beats him there, but he didn't shoot as many as Steph Curry does, and I don't think there were as many buzzer beaters. When it comes to LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kobe Bryant, where do you think they sit?
Oh, I would feel like Kobe Bryant would maybe be at the top there, possibly, right? If not him, Kevin Durant, maybe?
So Kobe, Michael, and LeBron all have very similar scoring. They're just under the career average or the league average. LeBron's at 34.8%, Kobe's at 32.9%, and Michael's at 32.7%. But keep in mind that they were doing a lot of their shot. They probably shot a lot more than most players get a chance to.
Right.
Shaquille O'Neal's is very funny. How many threes are like, what do you think his percentage on threes are?
Oh, I think it's probably very low. I'm going to go with something like, what, 19%?
Go lower.
Like 13?
Go lower than you would ever think to go.
8?
Go lower.
4?
4.5. He made 4.5% of the threes in his career.
Yeah, I mean, he was always kind of someone who I guess felt like dunked a lot of his shots.
I hope there's a YouTube clip where you can like go on and check just like a compilation of all his threes, because all the misses that he would have taken.
That's probably still better than his foul shots rating.
I don't know about that. 4.5 is a very low percentage. Kevin Durant is 38.7, so he's above average, but he's not, again, known as well for doing 3-point shots as well as just being a great player. Jumping back to Mr. Throwback, why do you think Peacock decided to release this right at the tail end of the Olympics, which they were also hosting, August 8th, 2024, 6 episodes. They just threw them out there right as the men's championship was about to happen, and Steph Curry had an incredible game.
Right.
Yeah.
What this seems like it was a series that was made pretty fast. Like they referenced even Hawk Tuo, which happened I think back in June.
Yeah.
So this felt like a series that
they were writing it up until the end. It wrapped on June 30th. It was between, I think, they pitched it at the end of the Golden State Warriors season, and they filmed between this and the Olympics. So they got it done.
They only had like
really
a couple
quickly.
weeks. Yeah.
It feels like it's a super simple show because they don't have like a giant cast. Obviously, you have the main four. You have Adam Pally, Danny Grossman, Stephen Curry as himself, Ego Nwodim from SNL,
right?
And
Kimberly,
yes, she plays like his agent or Steph Curry's agent / friend,
yep.
Right? Based on a real person in his life, which I'm not surprised because all these people have like really close. But you know what's funny about it is it came about so quickly that if you remember that breaking story about Ohtani, where his best friend or whatever was also his agent and
the gambling
or
thing.
no, his translator or something like that. Yeah, stole a bunch of money from him through the gambling. It reminds me a little bit of this because it's like Adam Pally's character is trying to take advantage and take money from Steph Curry. Maybe that was included in the idea and the thinking behind some of these episodes.
Well, it feels like the series was unfocused because at first it seems like we'll follow Danny as he tries to find a way to repay the $90,000 to the crooks that he has gone like kind of into bed with. But then it quickly ditches that story.
Because he doesn't know Steph Curry at the end of the series, at the beginning of the series here, right?
Again, they went to the same high school, and he was supposed to be this like prominent basketball star. Danny Grossman was.
Yeah, but he's at home and he owes this money and he feels like they're going to come break his legs. How does he meet Steph Curry? He can't just call him up, right?
Well, no, he actually was able to meet Steph Curry at the end of a game, game that he has, and he runs up to him and he introduces himself.
So he buys a ticket and then he just runs up there.
Right, and then he's able to actually go to the back of where the room is, and when no one's looking, he thinks that he's going to be able to easily steal Steph Curry's jersey.
That reminds me of like back in the day, I think one of Derek Jeter's, like the other players in the locker room, stole one of his gloves and then tried to sell it and then got arrested for that. Yeah, so this happens sometimes.
I think that, because Danny Grossman even says something like Steph Curry's jersey must go for like $150,000. And I would think that it would, I would think it would maybe even go for more if he actually...
For just a random jersey?
Yeah.
Is this like no. Absolutely.
But the point is though, is he's about to steal it, and then Steph Curry sees this all happen. He's in a lot more of the first episode than he is the rest of the series.
That makes sense.
But he sees this about to happen, and he's about to get mad at Danny, and then Danny comes up with a lie, which is really what the series is about his daughter Charlie, who has a disease. He's lying about all of this, even though he actually does have a daughter, and he has a disease that's not specified, but she's going to die, and then that's
so this
when
is like Shameless when Frank pretends that Carl has a disease.
exactly
Right.
like Shameless, and then that's when Steph Curry says,
Has
"Okay,
cancer.
we'll have a charity game," and then that's really where the series takes place after all of this. It reminded me a lot of
So when does he come clean though? Because you can't keep that lie
it's
forever, right?
no, and it drags on for way too long.
And the daughter's cool with it.
You would think that maybe the mom or the wife of him, Samantha,
The wife of him.
well, I mean ex-wife.
They're
at this
divorced,
point.
right?
Yeah, but
Yes.
definitely by the end of the series would have a problem with it. It seemed like that was the route they were going with it until episode 2. Suddenly, she's okay with it. By episode 4, Charlie knows, and it only is until the very last 10 minutes of the 6th episode, the final episode, where he finally admits to it all.
So, like, Danny is supposed to be a tragic figure in that he was sort of set up to fail by his dad,
Yeah.
right? Because when he was a kid, he was actually 15 competing in like a
He
9-year-old
was
league.
14 and a half, and he was
And so,
competing in
like,
a 12-year-old
the
league.
shots that you see are him like as this giant lording over these kids and making great and even having like the Steph Curry what is that signal that he does where he's making the little sleepy
night-night
time
thing,
night
yeah.
it reminds me a lot of Eastbound and Down, right? Where at the very beginning he's shown to be throwing fastballs at 99 miles per hour. He didn't cheat in the same way that Danny cheated, but certainly this is like the how things tailspun out of his career.
Absolutely. It's
right?
also like 7 Days in Hell, the tennis movie with
Except like Andy
Harrington.
Samberg's pretty good in that the entire time. He's representing someone who played well the entire time. He
Well,
was
and I
just
think
high.
that's the major problem. The biggest problem with this series is that I like Adam Pally. I even enjoyed him in Fubar, but it's just maybe Adam Pally centric shows that I'm not a big fan of because he is such an unlikable character. Purposefully at first, and then later on you're supposed to kind of feel bad for him, but I never really did. Like, you can joke about whatever you want. It's not offensive that he was like lying about his daughter or whatever. I'm fine with the joke, but it's the fact that it's like the lie just keeps going on for these 4 episodes.
But there has to be something more to the plot, right? It's 20 minutes. I get it's short, but like the first episode's called Why Not Me? I would have guessed that was because he feels like he should have had a better shot at his life or something like that.
Yeah.
Charlie World is the second one. What's that about?
It's about Charlie. She's wanting to throw a bigger birthday party.
This is the cancer patient.
Yes,
Okay.
the person who has fake cancer.
Yes.
She wants to throw a bigger party than I think her other friend Sloane, and that's when Samantha decides that she's fully on board with the lie.
Because she goes social media with it, right?
Yes, yeah, and then it ends up being like a huge party. But the problem with it is that, like, I think it could have been maybe even a better show had Adam Pally really or Danny Grossman not seen his way, and everyone else aside from but his family, I think that's the big problem. They're fully on board with the lie as well, so you really don't feel for Samantha or Charlie.
You want to see him fail a little bit more, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So like that would remind me more of This Fool. The money problems are almost like The Bear though, where he's down deep, but the people he owes it to, do they ever forgive him?
Well, that's the thing about the $90,000 that he has to send. Steph Curry gives him the jersey in the first episode. That storyline, like I said, it's ditched within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We never go back to it. He's just able to pay it off.
So I was going to say it was also like Bookie because of that same thing. And also because they have over exaggerated versions of real people.
Well, I'll tell you what is most like Bookie in this series. It seems like there are times when the show feels like it's actually giving facts. Like Kimberly in the 3rd episode explains how, through a presentation, how financially the basketball system works, especially with the Golden State Warriors.
Cool.
And there's this cool, 3-minute presentation. It seemed like the facts that she was spouting out were actually real. So that was one of the pros that I felt for the show, because much like Bookie, when it was actually talking about gambling, this did talk about basketball in a somewhat interesting way.
What episode did you say that was?
Episode 3, I think.
Yeah, so that's called The Slump. And so I assume Steph Curry doesn't do well in that episode?
Yeah, so that's when they start making a joke about how he ended up snapping his 268 game record of not making a 3. Danny has to go meet with his dad, and his dad knows how to coach Steph Curry because, again, Steph Curry back in high school.
How is he doing bad, though? Like
he just starts doing bad in
he just starts
basketball.
missing.
That's literally
He
the
gets the
joke.
yips.
Well,
Okay.
and it was strange too because the only thing that was a problem was that he was overextending his shot, and then he was able to make them. Also,
And
another
only Danny's dad was able to help him with that.
yeah,
There's a
right,
famous
yeah,
Yankee thing from a few years ago where like there was a person who was really struggling in the majors, and all the coaches that are like paid millions and millions of dollars to help weren't able to do anything. He goes back to his farm league to hang out with one of his friends, the catcher, and the catcher over dinner is like, you got to look at your old videotapes. You're missing your swing by just doing too many loop-de-loops or something like that. And then like lo and behold, the next day he was doing great, and now that catcher is part of the team. So
well,
it just feels like
one of the pros was seeing Steph Curry being able to actually shoot basketball and being able to make his shots. But it was really a way for Danny's dad to try and connect with Danny throughout the whole entire episode when they like, because he's making it this whole like extravaganza because he's really trying to connect with Danny. Danny doesn't know that he's thinking that they're having to like pick up pancakes for Steph Curry in the third episode.
So how did Danny not have a relationship with his dad when his daughter was around? Like I feel like Charlie would have had some.
Danny just cut off connection completely with him. Like he was not going to reach out to his dad, but
even
then
when he owed $90,000 and his dad might have been able to pay some of it.
yeah, but I don't think that
he'd rather steal from his old friend. Or
again, when it came to Danny's backstory, just with any of the choices he made, with anything that he was doing, it just was not able to make me connect with the character at all because the lie itself was such a big lie to tell.
Right. Yeah, I guess the next episode is called "The Only Way Out Is Through." So is that also to do with his lie? Like you can't talk your way out of it, so you just got to type.
Well, and that's at the beginning of the episode. They tell the daughter, they being Samantha and Danny, about the lie because she doesn't know until then why all this stuff is actually happening. And
I'm sorry, how does she have Charlie World happen without her knowing?
She was just thinking that it was that they were able to like afford it all, but
that whole thing of her faking her own illness
at the end of the third episode, Steph Curry says that they're going to have the charity game, which is what the whole entire series is about. And then Charlie hears about this, and then that's when she learns what Danny did.
And at the same time, Kimberly's getting very suspicious because she, unlike Steph Curry,
yes, right. She's the only one that's actually picking up clues. Steph Curry, one of the things that's funny about him is he just automatically believes
he's in it.
He's and he even had one of the funniest jokes where he's like an undercover boss at the end of that episode, and he's like a pilot. He's also like a janitor.
Do you remember Tim Duncan when he was in
the Spurs,
Uncut Gemstones or whatever, right? Or who
Tim
am I
Duncan?
thinking? Sorry, who am I thinking of?
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett. They're both very tall. So Kevin Garnett, he plays a very strange version of himself where he keeps on getting convinced by Adam Sandler's
that there's
version.
This like magical stone.
And so it's like an eccentricity that he has, right? To be buying into these kind of, he wasn't lying in that movie as much as Danny is lying here, but it does feel like they put themselves out on the line because they have the money to do so.
Well, I was just surprised how well Steph Curry was at being able to tell jokes. I have it labeled down here. He's a scene stealer. Whenever he's in the show, he's the best part of it. Yes, I genuinely was surprised because I thought that it was just going to be kind of like the premise, BJ Novak talking about how it's not actually what they say. It's just cool that they showed up. But no, Steph Curry actually does a good job with his like side interviews and when he's actually in the show itself. So yeah, the fourth episode, basically that's just showing how Charlie, she's using her TikTok, it's blowing up because she's talking about how she's going to die. Again, the whole family is really in on this lie at this point.
Okay, and the stepfather, right? There is a stepfather involved, or like a step husband, something that's
so Samantha is dating Dr. Josh.
Yes,
and Dr. Josh was shown in some other episodes,
and he's a doctor, and he's okay with his not stepdaughter, but like
no,
Danny's kid.
He doesn't know.
He hasn't figured it out.
He hasn't figured it out.
Does he remind
he's even one of the people aside from Kimberly who's trying to figure out the illness, and they're not sure what to say because again, it's just made up.
Okay. So. Bang Bang is the name of the fifth episode. You like that one?
Yes, that's when Danny's dad actually takes the blame for Danny at the end of the episode. Okay. It was supposed to be something that you were happy about because you were like, "Oh, Danny's getting away," but I actually wanted Danny to get caught.
Also, Danny's almost like what 40. It feels like he should.
I think mid-30s, late 30s.
I would think he was, because if Steph Curry's playing Steph Curry now, he's like 35 to 37 years old.
36, yeah.
And in the flashback, Danny is what, 6 years older than him? 5 years older than him.
Well,
So he was
playing in a 12-year-old league, and then he was really 14 and a half, as they say in the show.
Okay, so he's 2.5 years older.
2.5 years.
That also reminds me, now that you say 14 and a half, I think that was actually the age of what they found out that a little league player was many, many years ago in baseball, when they would do like the World Classics and stuff, and this guy would pitch like 99 miles an hour for a 12-year-old, and everybody was like, oh my gosh. And then they found out that the team that won, I think, who was using him, had just lied about his birth certificate. I don't even know if it was in the US. It was a long time ago. Eric Roth costs a fortune, bro. Last episode.
That's the last episode. That's when Danny finally comes clean. Sounds about
like
to
there's
have
a lot to tie up.
There's this charity game that they're about to have it go down. It's televised.
How many famous athletes they get for this thing?
I was hoping that there was going to be more, because like when they had Stephen Curry show up
Steve
again.
Curry,
yeah, he was in a cameo. I was really expecting there to be a like Mike thing. The weird thing about the cameos, aside from one that happens at the very end of the show, is it seemed like it was going to be building a Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, especially with the first couple that show up in like the first 10 minutes. You're like, oh, this show is really going to have a lot of them. It tapers off. Like after episode 3, you get practically none.
I heard some people complain about episode 1 not being exciting enough, like it being the weaker.
I think you can just attribute that to the whole series itself.
Okay, so overall, what would you give the plot?
Probably like
the plot, not the
plot?
whole show. Yes,
the plot I would give like a 3 out of 10.
Okay, I think the weakest part is the plot.
Yeah, and also the references that they make. It really comes through.
You don't like the Hawk Tuah or whatever?
The Hawk Tuah one is the most recent one, but with how old some of these are, they do that. I think you should leave the drive-through sketch, Borat, fake news, good people on both sides. These were all so many years old. It seemed like they were shooting for boomer humor. I didn't realize
that shows have to coordinate just in the last year as far as references are concerned.
When it comes to boomer humor, that's when you kind of fall. This was almost as bad as like Deadpool in 2016, when they would have references that harken back like decades earlier. That was almost like it with this series.
I'm not sure if that complaint's going to land with me. I like the Undercover Boss stuff, and the Undercover Boss, people don't watch that anymore. I feel like that still worked. But overall, then, what would you give the show?
Overall, Steph Curry saves it. I did enjoy the cameos. I even like how they ended off on a cliffhanger for no reason, just for season 2.
Just for fun?
Yeah, because one of the things is that Danny comes clean, and then after months upon months, they end up going to the Olympics. That's where the series ends. They're on a private jet. For some reason, Steph Curry has forgiven him, so has Kimberly, and then Steph Curry at the very end is like, and that's when the series gets, or that's when the story gets really crazy.
Very much like The Rock's Young Rock, I think, has
right.
very similar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would give it like a 5 out of 10, because I think that there are definitely times where this story was able to be funny, but a lot of the times it just wasn't able to find its footing.
Yeah. So I'll give you some facts here. Curry, who serves as executive producer of the show, shot all his scenes in California, which makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
That's where he was shooting. Literally. Pally trained with him there for basketball. So he trained with Pally.
At the very end of the first episode, they play one-on-one with each other.
I don't know if that's count as training.
Yeah, it's not like Adam Pelly's doing a lot of, because whenever they show him doing basketball, it's always his younger self.
It was like a Rudy situation where he was trying to get back into the league, or like Creed 2. Was it Creed 2 or Creed 3?
Which one?
Creed 3, the one where he gets his friend back in.
Yeah, that's
like
Creed
he owes
3.
his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nwodim plays Kimberly, his childhood friend. I told you this one already, that it's based on a real person in his life. 77% of accounts who watched Mr. Throwback, they already have the statistics on this, also watched the basketball games on the Olympics. So a lot of Curry fans tuned in for this. And that means that NBC is going to start airing the actual show and try it out on September 12th.
Mr. Throwback is going to be airing on NBC
TV as opposed to just online streaming. It comes across as a small cast, simple premise, limited episodes, one director, the director being David Wain.
I saw his name in the credits.
Yeah, David Wain. You know where he's from. Wet Hot American Summer, Children's Hospital, Medical Police, Wainy Days.
This fits like right in then with that, especially with like Adam Pally casting.
Yeah, it's a comedy guy. So it has a 6.3 on IMDb and 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. 3 stars from The Guardian, kind of matches your type of review. It struggles to make a splash is a negative review that The Hollywood Reporter gave it. And the only negative I saw about Steph Curry, because a lot of people said that he was funny, was that he has a monotone. And speaking as someone who sometimes has a monotone, I don't see that as that big
I didn't see it as a problem.
But I do see if like they got Patrick Mahomes or something, it wouldn't play as well. I don't think. I've seen enough of his State Farm commercials to kind of guess that. If they were to do a Mrs. Throwback, though, I have 4 different names for you, and I see which one, or I want you to tell me which one would sound the best.
Yeah.
I have my own personal preference, but Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, Ronda Rousey.
As the wrestler?
I think it would work. I think that would be interesting.
I don't even know
Same plot, just like flip the sexes, you know? Yeah, I'm not going to do the comedians. Let's actually keep Adam Pally as the person and then have it.
She doesn't even wear a jersey.
That
was the main reason why he was able to get out of the $90,000 debt.
Oh, yeah, but she has her boxing gloves. I mean, she could just be stealing boxing gloves. Katie Ledecky, I mean, coming off of this Olympics, it's like the same thing, you know? That makes a lot of sense, I think. Simone Biles. That one would be a tougher one because you have to believe that Adam Pally was like an elite gymnast at one point in his career.
It makes way more sense that he would able to do basketball than all the flips.
Yeah, especially when you have like the Lucas of the world out there doing great performances in basketball.
However, it would be funny to see Simone Biles in 6 episodes.
Right.
I've never seen her act before.
And then the last one, this is my favorite because I think it would be the most similar, is Caitlin Clark with her balloon and fame. If she was suddenly on a series, again, you would have to recast Pally's character because they're so different in age. But that would be your Mrs. Throwback.
Well, I think that would be, especially for the WNBA.
No word on a season 2. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get a season 2.
Well, if it kicks off on the network and actually gets people to watch it, maybe season 2 would be with a different NBA player, honestly. Like, yeah.
From the way they set it up, it seemed like Steph Curry was all in.
Like, but he could be in like a temporary thing, and they could use him like in the league to introduce other characters like Kevin Durant. Because I know so many more people would rather see the Kevin Durant series than the Steph Curry. He's just a much more like player. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I know you're a big Steph Curry fan. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.